So it seems like there's an audio track on this placard. And you can barely see the ridges. But let's see if it plays. Hopefully it doesn't hit the edge while it's bringing it over. Maybe I should do this manually. Oh. I should. Okay, I fucked up. Oop.
One of my favorites is Robert Smalls. Now, Robert Smalls was a slave in the Confederate Navy, serving on an ex-cotton boat which was called the Planter, and sailed out of...
There we go.
Marcy.
And I'm Ruby D.
Oh, not quite.
Was on their knees praying. The ushers ordered them to get up off their knees and go to the back of the balcony.
Uh-oh, sounds like a back from the bus.
So they continued to pray. They didn't move. At the end of the prayer, they moved out of the church forever.
Richard Allen went out and built Mother Bethel in Philadelphia, the mother church for the African Methodist Episcopal denomination. And another young man, Hezekiah Grice, was born a slave in Baltimore, Maryland. He ran away. He came back to Baltimore, a free man. What to do with that freedom? The government came up with the idea to send all the free blacks back to Africa. There were many free blacks who were rich and powerful and kind of themselves the leaders, but nobody came up with a solution to what shall we do. Hezekiah Grice came up with a simple idea. He wrote a letter to all the respected leaders in the black community and said, why don't we call a convention? And that convention in Philadelphia in 1830 set the tone for what black folks would do for the rest of our time in the country. Some of the friends of the black folks said, go to Canada. Ultimately, we decided not to go back to Africa, not to go to Canada. We decided to stay here in America, which was our land, and to fight.
You know, blacks weren't allowed to fight in the Continental Army,
In the
Revolutionary War. The British took advantage of this, and they promised freedom to any blacks who would join the army. And when Washington saw this, he decided to reverse the edict. Deborah Gannett volunteered. She disguised herself as a man and changed her name to Robert Shirtliff and served for 18 months before she was discovered.
They didn't have physicals in those days?
At any rate, about 10 years later, the government of Massachusetts awarded her some money and a medal for, guess what? Feminine heroism.
Oh, right on. One of my favorites is Robert Smalls. Now, Robert Smalls was a slave in the Confederate Navy, serving on an ex-cotton boat, which was called the Planter, and sailed out of Charleston, taking ammunition and food to the Confederate soldiers further south. But one night, the officers who were all white went ashore and left the slave boat in the hands of their good contented slaves. No sooner had they got out of sight than Robert Smalls got his crew together, put on the captain's uniform, and sailed out into the harbor. But when he came to the fort, he knew what signals to give. So they let that Confederate ship slip by, having no idea that it was being commanded by a black captain. So when he got beyond the Confederacy, he hauled down that Confederate flag, put up a white flag of truce, sailed into the Union. He and his whole crew joined the Union Navy. They were later decorated by Congress. And after the Civil War, Brother Smalls kept right on doing it. He was elected to Congress 5 straight times. One of my favorite heroes is Dr. Dan Hale Williams, a black surgeon in 1883. And he went around almost single-handedly raising money for the black community and others, and ultimately came up with Providence Hospital.
He's an innovator in another respect, Nancy. A young man was stabbed on the streets of Chicago.
Right.
So Dr. Dan, as he was called, opened this man's chest, found out that the wound was very deep and indeed affected the heart, and sutured it together.
And Dr. Dan was the first man to suture the human heart while it was still beating. Sunday, December 7, 1941, the Japanese had bombed these ships under attack with the U. And on that ship, he came up to the deck and he looked around and he had all been killed. Swung them around and started firing. He found 4 planes. And as a result of that was given the name, one of those numerous unsung heroes, little, small, all over the world, who someday on the spur of the moment takes that action that does ultimately make the difference.
Well, that's a shame. I don't know if I'll be able to hear all those stories. What an interesting find. Dr. Dan Williams? Is that our friend here? Well, maybe I can find some way to refurbish this card and listen to the rest of it sometime in the future. Maybe someone else has a way to do that. Maybe someone else has the full audio. We'll see.